These are not the droids you're looking for.
Welcome to the show.
I'm Bryce.
I just saw.
Mike.
I'm John. I just saw Mike do it, so I'm like, I have to do it too.
I would have known. I would have grabbed my Sith Trooper one right around the corner.
Yeah, I had that.
No, sorry,
Just run
Captain
to the
Card.
room real quick.
Captain Card.
Next time.
It's welcome
guys.
to the Bad Batch After Show. This is our third episode. This is actually episode 5 for this. The episode's name is The Return.
Return.
Yes.
Of the
It has
King.
multiple meanings.
And you know what's funny is I did not expect this was the return. I thought something was returning. I did not think it was returning to a
Or
part where
somehow something
yeah.
was returning.
Anything but the return meant we're talking about Crosshair returning to a planet where he had an epiphany.
Or the return of Crosshair to the Bad Batch, the return of Omega.
Yeah.
There's lots of returns.
Yes,
Return of Echo. Them returning to the planet that they have a safe haven on. There's a
returning
to that was literally the last return I thought was about Crosshair doing that. So it kind of caught me off guard. But I definitely it was a good one.
Yeah, lots of returns. All right, guys. So if you're ready, I got my notes ready.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, so it starts out like we were saying, lots of returns. You know, we've got the return of Omega and Crosshair to the Clone Force 99, the return to Pabu, return of Echo, Crosshair's return to Barton 4, the return of Lula to Omega, and the very thing starts out, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you noticed it, but to me it was kind of fuzzy, and I thought my TV was off because I have it like ultra high definition, and it looked kind of like a dream sequence because it was all fuzzy and the sun is shining and there were birds tweeting. So I thought, you know what, it's kind of like a dream sequence.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And I watched it twice, and both times that intro was kind of fuzzy, like, you know, like a dream sequence. And I think it's perfect because it's so, everything is just so perfect. You just know it can't last. So it's almost like a dream.
Were you watching it late at night?
Oh, 100%.
After like a few drinks or something?
Yes. And I also saw it again early in the day today, and it was the same thing. Like, wait a minute, they did it on purpose. So it was kind of fuzzy, and it's animated. So there's no reason why it wouldn't be clear. So then
that's a good point, Mike, because when they're on the planet and they're all actually sitting at the table, it's like a very nice, serene scene. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, I think
it's the ultimate setup.
Right.
Well, I think part of it is they want us to realize what they're giving. They're kind of giving up some of the peaceful life to finish their, I don't want to say quest, but it's more like a quest than a mission.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it starts out, Omega wakes up. She's got her Lula. She sees the boys, and then Crosshair's missing. So then she asks, "Hey, where's Crosshair?" And they're like, "Oh, you know, he wasn't here when we woke up. So he's outside practicing his sharpshooting, right?" And we notice his hand is still shaking, so he still has some.
This scene kind of got me a little bit because every time Omega interacts with somebody and the other Bad Batch, she's like learning something. She's immediately learning from him. He's like trying to give her like a tip to be a good sniper. I'm like, oh, she's definitely like, she looks to all of them as almost like teachers. And so that's good that she's learning from all of them because that's how she's going to be helpful to the team by her knowledge, obviously. She's not physically going to do anything. So her knowledge is definitely what's going to help her. And it showed later on. She did some pretty extremely helpful things because she knew stuff. So
and actually, it was helpful because that's what all the things that she had learned helped them escape from Mount Tantus. So she's always learning. That is good.
Well, she was also pretty instrumental in Barton 4 too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then Echo arrives on Pabu, and you know, they try to access Nala Se's stolen datapad to find clues about Tantus, which Echo says will be difficult, especially without tech. And then as soon as he mentions that, you know, everyone bows their heads. Moment of silence. That was a pretty sad moment, just to make us feel his loss even more. And unfortunately, it won't work unless he can plug into an Imperial base. At which point, Crosshair mentions a facility that he knows would be a good, pretty much abandoned.
I didn't think of that either when he said that. I was like, oh, which
Oh,
one's he
I
gonna...
immediately went to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, which one's he gonna pick? And like, I thought it was gonna be some random one because he's probably been on over dozens, like several dozens. Like, I'm like, then he picked that one, and so I was very. I was like, oh, I didn't at all think he was gonna go there. So
Well, because they were kind of like the they were in the process of weeding out the clones. That's why, like, when he brought that clone back at the end of season 2, they
Mayday.
just left him there, and they're
Yeah.
like, we don't care, we
But
really don't care about you. They shot
and
the
they were
Imperial officer.
right, but they were planning to leave that location. That's why they were getting all the shipment off because even Mayday
Mhm.
told him when he first arrived that as soon as they got all the shipment off, they'd be able to leave that planet because it was pretty cold and desolate and
Yeah, they were never.
and
The
remote.
clones themselves were never going to leave.
No,
In my mind.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought.
Well, and we see all the helmets.
Mm-hmm. And then Hunter still doesn't really trust him, but Omega does, and that's good enough for Wrecker because Wrecker and Omega are pretty tight. But before they leave, Wrecker does give Crosshair his old armor, thus returning to him his armor.
Yeah, like I said, tons of returns. I also returned his sniper rifle to him as well.
Right? And kind of a little dig too, like not sure if it's gonna fit you, but here you go.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And you can see when he came off the ship with it, he's all like trying to, get back
Squirming.
adjusted to it because, the helmet, he's got his helmet back.
Because we all know that our clothing shrinks when you leave it on a hanger for too long, right?
The only issue I have, and Jonathan is probably thinking the same thing, I don't know. The issue I have is how the heck did he get his original helmet back? End of the first episode of season 1, it was painted black.
Was it? I have to.
Or it might have been the second episode, but it was painted black.
I was like,
and then the second season's when he had the more stormtrooper looking black helmet. No, or partway through 1, I can't remember, but no, his helmet was painted black because his armor was the same armor, just black. So it could be a second set of gear, and maybe I'm just like, that was my only thing.
Yeah,
that whole episode. Other than that, was
I think that was new. I think that might be new gear though, Bryce. It was new gear that he had.
It could be.
Yeah,
could be. Yeah,
and they had kept his old gear in that box on the ship,
or he had a second set. I'm sure they had more than one set of armor. Maybe. I mean, especially with the kind of work that they did back
for
during
Laundry
the Clone
Day.
Wars. Yeah.
So then he decided to take Echo's ship.
Armor.
Echo returns, and they want to take his ship to go to this location, and they head to Barton 4, where Crosshair finally realized that the Emperor was not on his side, no matter how many orders he followed. And after Crosshair killed Lieutenant Nolan, the commanding officer, for shrugging off the death of his fellow clones Mayday, Hex, and Vetch, he was shipped off to Tantus as punishment. And an important thing about when he first arrives on Barton 4 in that earlier episode, remember when he first landed, there was the ice vulture that circled overhead?
Yeah.
And that welcomed him to Barton 4 this first time he got there. Same thing happens on this arrival to Barton 4 again. He gets there and he sees the ice vulture. And remember, Commander Mayday had told him that the ice vulture was a survivor. So it returned again on their return from near death. When he brought Mayday back, the ice vulture was there, and Lieutenant Nolan refused to provide any help. But just like the ice vulture is a survivor, it symbolizes Crosshair's survival and the rest of Clone Force 99's survival as well, I think.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's probably more right than I was thinking. I was thinking the bird is representing like freedom, but no, you're probably more right. It's probably more like surviving. Such a harsh element, and the bird needs to do what it needs to do to survive.
I see where Mike's coming from, but Jonathan, I see where you're coming from. I don't think either one of them is wrong. You know what I mean? Like I think
I'm wrong. I think that was a good one that Mike came up with.
Oh, it was, but no, but I got me thinking. I'm like, because I was like, okay, it's back. I'm like, why is it back? It's like I could go either way. Like I get it. Like that's the symbol of freedom, and maybe that's what it meant in season 2 when he shot Lieutenant Nolan. That was a symbol of him being free of necessarily like following orders.
Mhm.
And then coming back, he sees that symbol of freedom and realizes everything. Right now everything is going to be okay.
Right, but I see it like the Convor is to Ahsoka, same way that the Ice Vulture is to Crosshair. It's their little mascot.
So maybe he's the son. Yeah,
No, 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 no.
he's Mortis.
So then
Totally off
when he,
topic.
yeah, when he gets into, well, they get into the base, and then Crosshair sees Commander Mayday's and his squad's helmets on the ground, just tossed around, no respect. So he starts arranging them on the box, and that's something
Mhm.
that Mayday had taught him when he first got there. That to show respect for his fellow clones, he shows honor, dignity, and respect for the troopers by placing the fallen members' helmets up and organizing them.
And
So,
not to mention Hunter too, standing in the background, was going to approach him and say something, and then he saw what he was doing and he backed out. Like, oh,
right.
I,
And
I,
even though Hunter didn't know the background about those helmets because he never met them, he still was observing and starting to change his behavior, seeing the change in his brother's behavior. So,
it's funny because Hunter says a line. He said I think it's when they get there. He goes, "I think there's more to this planet than you're telling us." I
mhm.
think he's thinking more like there's a secret, something going on here. But there is something more to that planet going on. But it's not what hunters think. It's
right.
the struggle Crosshair's having with
And just
realization.
internal
This
struggle.
was really that's where he realized that he was wrong with his loyalties. He was just being a good soldier, and he got played. I mean,
Mhm.
I think all of us have been played at once. Like we're doing something, we think we're doing right, we're doing something for this. And you realize, man, that person just played me. I feel like a ding dong. I know I've done it several times, and so but his was like murdering people,
Right.
betraying his brothers, and
Mhm.
for Empire has no loyalty to him, but he
Right.
betrayed his brothers for them. So I can understand how that could really mess with your psyche and your well being.
I thought he made some absolutely stellar points in the conversation that him and Hunter had before they were ready to like punch each other before the big giant worm came out of the ground. Is that you know he told Hunter, "You're mad that I'm the one that rescued
Saved Omega.
or saved Omega, and it wasn't you." And you could
Hmm.
see that angered him because
And actually, Bryce, prior to that, he told him, "Look, I risked everything to warn you
Mhm.
about Omega to keep her safe, and your failure caused her suffering."
yeah,
And you could see Hunter was really it touched a nerve because he balled his fist right
oh
away.
yeah, it definitely
He was
did.
upset.
Well, that was weird. God, we're back. Having some technical difficulty, guys. Sorry. Hopefully, we don't have to repeat anything. But let's power
But we
through this before
probably will.
any more
Yeah,
issues.
you can
All
edit it
right.
though, right? You can edit, John.
No, I can't. So we just talked about how great it was to see Crosshair kind of evolve and start caring more about his fellow trooper, just
Right.
setting his helmet up right.
He organized them to show the honor, dignity, and respect that his fallen clone troopers to show them that honor.
Mhm.
And then Omega had to power down the sensors to keep the creatures away from the base because they had to take all the power to be able to start extracting the data from Nalisi's data pad. Then we hear the rumbling in the distance. And of course, Crosshair goes outside to check the perimeter, and Hunter follows him, and they start to finally talk to each other. And Hunter's animosity towards Crosshair continues as he questions if he betrayed the Empire the same way he betrayed them. Then
Very
Crosshair
intense
does
conversation.
very intense, and Crosshair does confess that he killed an officer, um, confirming Hunter's dig at him. Then it's Crosshair's turn to have a dig at Hunter, telling him that he warned him about Omega's impending danger and how he risked everything to send that message, which Hunter ignored. So it's really Hunter's failure that led to all of Omega's suffering.
Which is
And
a
at
pretty
that,
harsh dig, man.
Mm,
That's
but
like,
it was
here are the
true.
reasons. Okay.
right? Yeah. I mean, he made some just valid points and straight to the point, like a sharpshooter should.
Right. And Hunter did ball his fist like he was going to punch him. And right at that
Mhm.
moment, Batcher starts giving some warning barks. And just in time for Dune's opening in theaters, we find out that it was none other than
A worm.
sandworm. Oh no, it was a worm, not a sandworm, a snow worm or ice
Snow.
worm. And
I can't take you serious.
inside the base, they make a plan to lure the worm away. So they restore the power to the sensors and escape. To do that, Crosshair and Hunter need to work together. So Crosshair saves Hunter from the worm, and it seems like Clone Force 99 is finally healing the old wounds, and Wrecker hugs them both, right? So when they get the info from Nalase's datapad, they should be able to find Tantus and save the other clones. But before they leave Barton 4 on a mission to save their clone brothers, just before their departure, Crosshair turns and looks up to the sky, and we see the Ice Vulture circling ahead and cawing. And that reminds me that because it represents his survival, Crosshair is going to survive, and the Clone Force 99 will survive, and everything's going to be all right. So it was a good feeling for me.
I think it's really important that you get a refresh on its counterpart episode, because that all that stuff with the Survivor thing, I think it really hits harder when you remember that. But one thing that I remember that they really planned together is in the last episode with on this planet, they're in some ice tunnels, and they never say why there's ice tunnels, and it just happened to be like these ice tunnels, and never even thought of it. So they knew they were going to make this giant snower. So I thought that was pretty cool. So they harkened back to that. So it's really cool on them on that.
And now we know that these ice tunnels were made probably by these ice worms.
Yeah.
As they're tunneling through the ice.
I do think, though, the sensors keeping them away was a complete accident. I don't think when the Empire set up those sensors, it was made to keep out these worms. I think it was, like you said, to sense if rebels or whatever they called them, outlaws or raiders were around.
That's what they had said originally. They were sensors to detect the raiders or any creatures from coming. But I don't think they knew about the the snow worms.
Yeah.
But that was just like an added bonus.
I did watch it with subtitles, and they don't call it a worm with an R. They call it a wern.
With a Y.
Yeah, like
WYRM. Worm.
Like they would call some dragons. So kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. But of course, it is a worm.
Before we have any more issues, what are our final thoughts on this episode?
I really enjoyed the development between the characters. There was a lot of really good dialogue in this episode. I thought it was a filler at first, but then it ended up being a really strong episode in terms of the character development between the Hunter and Crosshair and getting the family all together again.
Yeah, I almost identical thoughts. To me, it did feel the story felt filler. I don't think their mission advanced at all. They got a data pad and they just feel, there's more clones. That doesn't advance the story at all. They don't find what Tantus is at all, which I think is odd because they flew away from Tantus. You think Crosshair would have like, oh yeah, we flew from that direction. It's over there. You kind of would know where it's at. I think that's a little odd. At least point them in the general direction. Like, this is the planet we landed on first. It's going to be near this planet, but kind of it's odd that he doesn't remember any of that.
But how many systems did they pass when they went into light?
So he's like an elite warrior. I mean, I remember where I drove from. If I drive a couple hours,
how many times did you ever see Crosshair sitting next to Tech in the cockpit, navigating?
Well, I mean, not a lot, but I mean, I didn't see all of his missions and stuff. I just think, I don't say, you know, this is an important place we just escaped from. You know it is, and they're not going to make any like mental notes or anything where they're coming from. It's just like they hit full speed and never guess where we're at. I thought that was a little odd. I know that's the first.
Camino was deleted from the Jedi archives.
Yeah,
so they do that. It's the where's the center of gravity? I guess within that system, maybe that's how they could find it.
I guess I would have at least gone back to at least that original planet where they crash landed from and said, let's start our search from here, that direction.
Where they stole the first ship to go meet them on that moon of Ryloth. Yeah.
Yeah, but the second ship they stole wasn't destroyed or nothing. They knew where that second ship came from. There's going to be logs or something. They should kind of.
That's why it's probably still on that moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, because their original ship that they stole was heavily damaged, they weren't able to get far, and so they know that that planet where they stole that
It has to be
cargo ship has
close
to
to
be
that one.
nearby, right? But Echo did say that the information that they got, with the information that they got from the data pad and the other information that Omega and Crosshair had shared, they were getting closer to being able to find where the rest of the clones would be.
I think it's just literally a story plot, kind of like
Right.
this suspend disbelief. Suspend disbelief. Let's just make it so they keep looking forward. To me, like, well, they should have an idea, but whatever. To me, that part, the story, total filler. Nothing really happened. That character development, huge. I thought that was really big. That's
Great
really kind of
dialogue.
what saved the episode. If that wasn't there, it would have been a little bit of meh. But I really enjoyed the character development. Really, and you're seeing this relationship with Crosshair and Omega. That used to be the relationship with Hunter and Omega. Like she's like buddy with him. They walk out hand to hand. They go and talk. Like she's really close with him. I mean, you would be if you spent several months together. She got to talk with him. I don't want to say every, but several times a week.
But half a year of interacting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they probably got real close, and he's just like, she's my almost little sister. But I did like the line. I'm older than you.
Yeah, she's.
I love that line. I'm older than you guys. Like,
little brother.
That was a cool line.
Bryce, final thoughts?
I absolutely loved the episode. I thought the progression with the characters that we got here did advance the story, because I think it plays into a lot going into the season of, we all know, sorry, I had to wait for Sophia to get out of the room. We all know they all are not going to make it.
Right. We've already lost Tech, so.
Well, did they?
If they're not all going to make it, they got to start dying some point.
Yeah.
Why bring him back? Why bring him back to kill him off again? That makes no sense.
Oh yeah, I understand that. I just,
if he's alive, he's not the Tech we remember.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, any holocron ratings, guys?
3.5.
5, Bryce?
4.5.
Oh, 4.5. Okay.
I absolutely loved this episode. I absolutely loved it.
I really liked it a lot. I liked and I actually saw the previous the episode, the one when Crosshair is sent to Barton 4, and after watching that one, I watched this episode again, and I thought that made it a lot stronger. So I'm going to give it a 4.75 holocrons.
You know what? That's a great point. I'm going to go up mine to 4. I mean, just by itself, it was like, I think it's good. But when I kept thinking back to the other episode, the Ice Vulture.
There's a lot of
parallels. Are R5s.
The tunnel. So
that's even more than my 4.75.
The fact that it spans 2 seasons, not back-to-back episodes, that's a lot of forethought. And I give them the flowers. So that was a good. I really like that. That's a great connection. My one comment though before we leave, I need more information on his hand issue.
We'll get there.
I think they need to tell us why he's having a hand issue.
They will. I know they will, because they brought it up several times already.
Yeah.
They wouldn't keep bringing it up if they weren't going to address it.
They need to give us more information though. Eventually, they can't just eventually he overcomes it. They need to say what's going on. I just think, that's just something that needs to be addressed.
I agree, but I think we'll get it. So, ticker tape, John. Thanks for joining us tonight. Be sure to like and follow us on YouTube at Virtual Cantina Network, on Instagram at virtual.cantina network, on X, formerly Twitter, at Cantina Virtual, on Threads at virtual.cantina network, on Hive at Virtual Cantina, and on TikTok at Virtual Cantina. And like the VCN's Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 Facebook page, the largest in the universe with the most fan members. And
make sure you check out our partner pages, Star Wars Book Nerds, Star Wars Comic Book Club.
Please like and subscribe. Please comment. That's our most important thing, is the interaction with you guys. That's the number one thing we wake up for. Here are her comments. And I do want to apologize for the technical difficulties we have today. Me and Bryce are here waiting for about an hour till Mike finally showed up. And
That was the other way for me.
That's all Mike's
That was
fault.
for me. I will take blame.
No worries, no worries. I'll take the shame.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Jonathan's
here we go.
out.
We're gonna end it.
See you, Bryce.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.